What's up guys, welcome back to a brand new video on the JKC Gaming channel. In today's video we're going to be talking about a topic of does FPS really matter? This is an interesting topic which I've researched into in depth, and today we're going to be talking about it. If you do enjoy this video or find it informative, make sure you use code JKC in the Fortnite item shop and also subscribe to the channel, as that really helps. Without further ado guys, let's get right on into it. Before we get into all of the opinion related things, I think we should explain what FPS actually is. FPS stands for frames per second, and it is the amount of pictures that shows on your screen per second. So if I have 60 FPS, my screen is showing me 60 pictures per second that make up my gameplay. The same goes for 240 FPS, 120 FPS, 30 FPS. Each is the number of pictures that's showing on your screen per second. The more pictures that are showing on your screen per second, the more smooth your gameplay is. So people experiencing 360 FPS are playing pretty much real life at this point. So now we got a good explanation of what it is, let's dive deep into whether it really matters or not. I feel like I can offer a unique perspective to this video, as I've actually come from old gen console. I was originally on 60 FPS Xbox, and I've moved to 120 FPS Xbox. I'm now on PC, which I can get 165 FPS on. Having experienced so many different FPSs, I feel I can give a very unique opinion on this video and whether FPS actually matters as much as people say it does. I am going to start by saying this: the lower your FPS goes, the harder it is to get better at the game. I found when I was on 60 FPS that I found it really hard to learn new skills. I'd hit like a skill cap and I'd struggle to get anything better beyond that. But some people are just natural demons at this thing, and I have seen a couple of 60 FPS people placing in tournaments, but not many. It really is a rarity. This is mainly because of the lag in Storm Surge lobbies and in endgame. When you're on 60 FPS, you can go down to as low as 20 FPS in endgame, and you literally can't even build with that sort of FPS. So it makes it really hard to accomplish anything. Beyond 60 FPS, you have 120 FPS, which is new gen consoles or a low end PC. 120 FPS is very decent, and it's probably the biggest step up in FPS that you'll ever have. Between 60 and 120, it literally feels like the difference between playing on the potato and playing on the NASA headquarters PC. It is so ridiculous. I have seen quite a couple of pros at 120 FPS and placing. Reet was actually 144 FPS and winning cash cups pretty much every week, and that's only 20 FPS more. However, 120 FPS is still not perfect in endgame. You could get up to 70 or even 60 frames, and when your frames are dropping from 120 to 60 frames in endgame, it can feel extremely laggy. On 120 FPS, it is so much easier to learn new skills, but I still think there is a slight skill cap up to a certain point of how good you can actually get, although it is a lot more probable that you could place on this type of FPS than 60. I was actually on 120 FPS for more than a year on new gen Xbox console, and I still switch over it, as it is very good for recordings, as my PC cannot really record and play at the same time. Therefore, when I'm playing PC, I can't really record. So the Xbox is still used a lot in my tournament videos and my content videos. Anything beyond 120 FPS is going to be considered good and is going to be on PC, as you can't get above 120 FPS on console. This type of FPS makes the game feel really smooth, especially anything beyond 200, and 360 is just a different beast. New skills are extremely easy to learn, and your edits will become so much more consistent on higher FPS. Also, your frames will be more stable in endgame if you set them to a slightly lower value, so your PC can handle it easy. This means that you'll have like a solid 200, 240 frames in endgame, which is just crazy when you think about it, because everyone else is lagging around and you've just got complete control of your whole game. Most of the pros that place are on 165 FPS or beyond. This because it allows them for peak performance and best gameplay. I'm actually on 165 FPS right now, and I can tell you it does feel smooth. I've been on for it for a couple days, and I can already feel myself improving dramatically. And just a side note, if you want to get better at the game and you have a high-end PC, just try switching the FPS back to 30. Play on 30 FPS for about 10 minutes or so, then switch back to your normal FPS. Honestly, you will feel insane. Everything feels so smooth. The 30 FPS training will make your edits way more consistent and you should have to actually think about them. And it's just a really good tip if I'm honest. To conclude the video, I'm going to say that no matter what FPS you're on, you shouldn't let anything stop you. If you want to place in a tournament, grind them hours, grinding creative, grind the mechanics, also grind the aim, and you will eventually get there. Some people have a slight disadvantage with their FPS, but you shouldn't let that stop you. To show you how much you can do if you put your mind to it, here is a clip of me using 60 FPS while on PC and still doing pretty insane. This was what I was like just after 2.5 minutes of switching back to 60 FPS in my creative map, and that should just inspire you to show you what you can do. So I believe that FPS matters to an extent, but mostly it's about how you let it affect you. If you're a 60 FPS player that's a god at the game, but if you have a really bad mentality and use your bad FPS as an excuse every time you die, you're not going to improve, you're not going to place. You need to use that FPS as a positive. You need to think, I'm the best 60 FPS player and I can win this. That's all from me, guys. I really hope you enjoyed. Use code JKC in a fun item shop and I'll see you guys next video.